You're listening to the AmWritingFantasy podcast. In today's publishing landscape, you can reach fans all over the world. Query letters are a thing of the past. You don't even need a literary agent. There is nothing standing in the way of making a living from writing. Join two best-selling authors who have self-published more than 20 books between them. Now, on to the show with your hosts, Autumn Burt and Jesper Schmidt.
Hello, I'm Jesper.
And I'm Autumn.
This is episode 117 of the AmWritingFantasy podcast, and the topic of the day is something that we have touched upon indirectly in a number of episodes, but we have never dedicated a full episode to it before, so we decided to talk about some tips for writing a first draft.
Which will be so much fun. It is strange to think we've shared so many tips and we've talked to so many authors about how to overcome hurdles, but I can't believe we've never done a whole episode on this.
No, that's right. And when I was thinking about it as well, we have also actually, when we talked about editing, we have been talking slightly about, indirectly, talking about writing a first draft, but yeah. Not a full episode about it.
Covered the 7 stages, which kind of helps you through a first draft, but no, this is really about writing it.
It is, yes. So let's see how we go today. It should be an interesting conversation.
Yes, I'm sure you've prepared something, and I left it wide open, so I'm good.
Of course. I am always prepared, and then you can wing it as you normally do.
I do. Well, I've had 23 or so first drafts, so I feel fine about this topic.
You feel comfortable
I do.
Enough.
This is my niche, so I'm good. So how are things for you, though?
Pretty good.
Good.
I think last week at least, I made good progress on the first draft of our book one.
Yes, you're doing good.
Yeah. So I think this week is going to be a bit tougher. I have a lot on the agenda this week, so let's see how it goes. But that's good. At least getting some writing done last week, and I think I managed to do 4 chapters. I think last week.
You did really good.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah, you're doing a little bit better than me. I'm still working on the edits to the reader magnet, the Rift and the Mage, but by the time this is recorded, it'll be done. But I'm releasing my first book since July, 2019, this coming weekend. So there's a few things to do. Just a little. Yeah. I forgot. It's been a year and a half almost since I released a book. I forgot how much there is to do. So
yes.
Yeah. A little swamped. It's okay. But I'm so excited. So it's good.
The other good news actually is that some of the corona restrictions have started to lift now.
Really?
So I think, fingers crossed, but within the next 1 or 2 weeks, I think I could be back to refereeing again.
Oh, that is excellent. It's going to be spring-ish soon, so that'll be really exciting.
Yeah, and they're saying by the time we get to summer, hopefully, all our entire country should be vaccinated, hopefully, by summertime.
Country is the size of one of our cities. I would hope so.
Yeah, indeed. It should actually be even faster.
I would hope so. I mean, if they're saying the U.S. can get completely vaccinated by May, we'll see if that happens. Knowing the government, it'll be June or July.
No
but
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, did they say what year May they meant? Was
Such confidence.
2024?
It might have been 2024. Yes. Yeah, they didn't. Or maybe they said there'd be enough vaccines to vaccinate everyone by May, but short of someone going out with a tranquilizer gun, it's not going to happen.
Oh yeah, that could actually be cool. It's some snipers or something like when you go out shopping, then you'll get a vaccine sniped. That would be cool.
There are people who would enjoy that over here.
I think so.
Encourage them. We could pay money to have people do that and make it all back for what we've spent on helping people get their vaccines. Oh, yeah,
probably.
Oh,
but actually, I'm not sure if you remember, but quite a while back, you recommended that I should watch a show on Netflix.
Which one?
Yeah, it's quite a while back, actually. And I don't speak French, but I think I would pronounce it La Révolution or something like that.
Yes, I did recommend La Révolution.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
Well,
It's
I'm
different.
halfway through now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in French. That's a bit of a down.
I like French. 4 years in high school. Come on.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't speak a word French, so. But I'm halfway through. And so far, at least, I would say that I really like how they are building the mystery elements.
Excellent.
I'm still not completely sure what kind of, I wouldn't even call it magic, but sort of what's going on with that blue blood and stuff. I'm not quite sure what's going on still with that.
Okay.
So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing I would say at this point is that I could really use a stronger character motivation for, I mean, I understand that they want to stop this stuff from happening and the revolution stuff, and I get it, but I think it would be stronger if it was a bit more clear why the character should be so invested in it.
Okay.
I'm not 100% on board with that, but so far it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it kind of gets resolved at the
hopefully,
end.
Yeah, I'm only halfway through, so
yeah. And it does leave it open. I don't know if there's a second season coming, but it does leave it open that there's a potential there. But yeah, for anyone who hasn't looked at it, it's sort of like a zombie meets French Revolution. And actually, my husband and I had a recent discussion about it, saying, books like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and Lincoln Vampire Slayer kind of fed into this series being written, and I thought it was fascinating. I'm like, this actually explains the French Revolution in a way I can totally understand. So I really enjoyed it. And I usually don't do zombie things, so and now I want to read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. So there you go.
Well, there's no zombies in this, to be honest.
No, it's not. But it plays on that idea, though.
Yeah, maybe yes.
It's just called Blue Blood. Yeah.
But I guess, I just wanted to mention it because if there are some listeners who are interesting, if you like something like mysterious murders and unknown virus spreading, I was about to say, then I just blew it. I shouldn't say that. Nobody wants to watch it.
Go ahead, it's fine. We have a vaccine now. They don't. It's fine.
Yeah, but I just feel like virus stuff is I don't know. I don't want to even watch stuff that is about virus outbreaks. It's just like, no way.
I understand.
Forget it. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to read about it. It's just
done.
No. But okay. Anyway, if you like mysterious murders, then try to check. You pronounce it better than I do. What is it? What is? Say
La
what it's called.
Revolution.
Ah, there you go.
Voila.
Yeah.
A week on the internet with the AmWritingFantasy podcast.
So first of all, I just wanted to mention that we are making another attempt today on recording ourselves on video while also recording the podcasts. So you'll be able to see on the AmWritingFantasy YouTube channel if you want. Yes. Then there is a video feed, but why I'm mentioning is more because last week we had the first try,
yes,
and there was some internet lags caused by the video feed, which meant that Autumn broke it. I meant what happened though was that sometimes it took a couple of seconds before I could hear what Autumn said, and vice versa. So we had these bit of awkward pauses in between, which was quite annoying. So we're having another attempt now, right. And I hope it's going to work well today. But it is more to let you know that if the video feed keeps interfering, then we'll probably dump the video feed again, because the most important thing is that this is a podcast. So the audio feed needs to be good. And if it suffers because of the video, then we will dump the video. But at least for now, we're just trying a bit. We changed a few things for today. So hopefully the internet lag will not be there anymore.
Yeah, but, so far it's between you and I seems okay.
Yeah,
my internet's holding out, which is pretty good. Fingers crossed we got it working this time.
Yeah, and you changed location. Maybe that helps.
I did. We got some like office-y digs going on. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, another thing on the internet, since this is that segment.
Yes.
I wanted to mention how BookBub shared a list of 9 reasons why they most often reject a BookBub featured deal.
Awesome. That is
And
useful.
yeah, and given how important these deals are, and then I thought maybe I could just do a very quick rundown of those 9
that'd be
items here.
good, because I'd actually thinking of submitting a book, and so this will maybe convince me or make me stay away. So I'm waiting.
And then you can see if you are aligned with these things, or
That's
if you
right. Because I have had one BookBub deal, so that was really exciting, but it seems hit or miss. Maybe there's rhyme or reason to this.
There is, I think. Yeah. Okay, so number 1. The book is too short.
Oh, so, that's interesting.
Yeah, there are minimum page count requirements, so that's a pretty easy fix if, check those out before you submit a request for a feature deal.
Interesting.
That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2 is also easy. Not meeting the pricing requirements, so the submitted book has to be deeply discounted or free.
Okay.
So that's a no-brainer, right? Yeah. But if you haven't discounted the book, then just don't submit it for featured deals, because you're going to get rejected.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So not surprising so far, right?
Nope, nothing shocking there.
Number 3, and this one is about timing. So BookBub will not feature a book more than once every 6 months. Okay. So if you did have a feature deal on that particular, you can have featured deals on several different of your books. So, but that particular book, they will not feature again before 6 months later. So if you already had it, then don't submit it, because you're wasting your time and their time.
Seems fair. I mean, it's hard enough to get one. So if you can get one every 6 months,
yeah,
good for you.
Good for you. The other one is, or number 4, is if your book is only available on Amazon, meaning Kindle Unlimited, you are less likely to get chosen. You can be chosen, but it is much less likely, because BookBub they support wide platforms and they like wide. So they tend to promote books that are available everywhere.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if you're only in Kindle Unlimited, that might be why you're getting rejections.
Makes sense.
Number 5, and this one also makes a lot of sense to me, but it's about the reader experience. So if BookBub finds a lot of reviews that mention that you have typos and stuff like that, they will often reject the book.
That makes sense. That's good to know. Of course, it's hard then if you go and you fix them, which hopefully you should do that before you publish, but if you publish and then fix them, you still have those reviews sitting there. So they're going to hurt you really bad over time. So get it right the first time.
Get it right. So number 6, and you'll like this next one, Autumn.
Okay.
It's something that we say all the time.
All right. Well, I will like this one then.
If the cover doesn't match the genre and the reader expectation, BookBub will likely reject it.
Yes.
Have we said that before?
It's so true. And then, again, that's one reason I was really happy to have one of my books featured, because it was also one of the covers I did. So it made me feel good as a graphic artist.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
We are now getting into like chicken and egg territory.
Okay.
Yeah. So number 7 on the list is not having enough reviews.
Does it say how many at once?
No, it doesn't.
Oh.
But how do you get reviews when you're not seeing any sales?
Yeah.
And if you could get a BookBub feature deal, you would get sales, and then you would get reviews. So you see the chicken and the egg problem here.
Yeah, maybe we should call it dragon and the egg problem, but okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the dragon and the egg problem. That's much better.
Okay, good.
But that's luckily something that we do talk about in the self-publishing success course.
Yes,
and you can enroll to that course for free.
Yes.
Yay!
Yay, that's a good idea, because then you can figure out how to get reviews, which means you might get in BookBub.
Yes, and I'll put a link in the show notes to the self-published success course. So yeah, you can just sign up and get going there. But I'll leave that alone for now and move on to number 8.
Yes, we still have 2 more.
Yeah, this one is much harder to comply with, and I would almost say just submit your book and let BookBub figure it out and let them reject it, because number 8 is what they call that it is not aligned with current market trends.
Oh.
So that's a bit like,
That's a tough one. Yeah, I can.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, there's times where, if a certain type of book is just not selling, sometimes, if you're paying attention, you will know that, but there's times that you can't read their mind, what they decide is popular right now. So just ignore that one.
It's sort of like, in when I'm out refereeing, we also have this catch-all bracket thing.
Okay.
We have like unsportsmanship conduct, and you get a yellow card for it. But how do you define what that is? Well, right. I define that as the referee. So when you're being an asshole, you'll get the yellow card, and I'll give you that as the reason. And so I think this is BookBob's catch-all category as well. Like, well, if we can't figure stuff out, otherwise we'll stuff it in market, not aligned with current market trends, and reject it. Yeah,
if you wrote like the Elfstones of Shannara and it's just not selling right now, or you do sci-fi fantasy and that's just not popular where everyone wants to read about vampires and zombies, well, they'll just use that one for the sake of it. It's their nice way of saying, we like you, but no.
Yeah. And then the last one is pretty easy and simple. Oh, yeah. In fact, it is just that they have run out of advertising slots.
So there you go.
They only advertise a certain number in their emails, and maybe they would have liked to taking your book on board, but they're out of slots. So you just submit again next month. But yeah, that was 9 things of why BookBug, did I say that?
BookBug.
Yeah, well, there could be a bug in the book, who knows?
I like that.
BookBob, why they reject your books. So yeah, maybe a few interesting things. There is a bit more details in the article itself, so I'll put a link to the article in the show notes as well if you want to go and read a bit more of the details. But I basically covered all the major points there.
Yeah, I might even check it out. I want to see what the length of novels is, if they're looking at novellas or it has to be full length. That'll be interesting.
It has to be full-length novels.
Ooh, tough.
And on to today's topic.
A lot, and I mean a lot of people really struggle writing the first draft, and
they do.
Will actually never make it any further than this step. So we thought it would probably be a good idea to share some tips about how can you conquer that first draft.
Absolutely. And I actually have a quote to start this off with, and I didn't even mean to. It was one I was sharing with my parents. It's one of my favorite quotes, and it's good for a lot of different things, but it is simply, when all things are said and done, there is more said than done. And that's actually a really old quote. It's from Aesop. So human condition has not changed much in like 4,000 years, which is really sad. But yeah, I think that's a nice way of starting off, saying if you're talking about writing, you should probably be writing. So that is my excuse now why my social media is not always that good, because that's talking and I like to do. That's my excuse anyway.
That might actually be a topic for another podcast episode one day. Just because before recording, actually, we were just talking about social media efforts for authors, and it's like, is it just a complete waste of time? And just spend the time writing instead. And I must just say that I'm getting more and more inclined to say so. But
I try to think of it as a way of talking to readers. But again, so that could be a distraction. Maybe you should be working on your first draft.
But that's a detour. That's another topic for another day.
But we'll have to write that one down.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if we don't write it down, we'll forget it.
Yeah, we'll have to. So one of us is responsible for writing that down after the podcast.
Yeah, that's how it usually works. You say one of us and then nobody does it. That's how it works.
Well, it's earlier for me, later for you. So I'll take responsibility. It'll be my fault if I don't do it.
Okay, yeah, I can live with that.
Of course you can. Right. Well, I'm hoping I left this one pretty wide open on things to discuss. So I'm guessing that, though, you have some specific tips. Just a hunch.
I do, yes. But I don't have them in any particular order of importance or anything like that. It's just a couple of different things. I think I have like 4 tips.
Oh, wow, that's not too bad.
No, it's not too much either. But
No. I think that's a good place to start. Well, I think that's one of the most important things is you can create this almost mind block that it is your first draft and it is so big, and you don't treat it like it's this overwhelming giant hurdle. It's that's not going to help you either. So 4 steps, that's not too bad. So let's hear the first one, or the third one, whichever order you want to start with.
Yeah, okay. Well, the first one I call Don't Overthink It.
Oh, yeah.
Don't overthink it. I should put a space there. It's late in the evening for me, okay? I'm tired.
You had a long day. You were up early. We had a business meeting before the podcast recording, so
yeah, that too.
Everyone be nice to Jesper today.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this one is that it would really help you a lot if you are not approaching your first draft as if you are trying to write the next Lord of the Rings or something like that.
Oh, gosh.
You know, if you could just accept that what you write in your first draft will suck. Yeah. Just like, it'll stick like your grandmother's old socks or something like that.
Yes. This comes to, that's a good, I wouldn't have put it that it'll suck, but that's a good way of putting it.
No, but it's like, you know, if it's one of those cases again where your future self really hates your past self, because your past self keeps passing shit on down the line, right? But I think this is one of the cases where you should be an asshole to your future self, and just deal with the editing later. Just get the writing done. It is okay. That's why it's called a first draft, because it's the first one. And you're going to go through it multiple times. You're going to make it better. And it is not supposed to be the final product. So please just don't overthink it and just write. Yes. And don't care that it sucks.
No, and that's actually, I mean, we have it in the guide course, and I have to admit, I didn't come up with this phrase, so I'm not taking responsibility for this one, but it was a published author traditional published author, who said, your goal when you're doing a first draft is to write a short, bad book. And I love that. Yeah, he was very clear. He's like, it's not to publish a short, bad book, no. But your goal is to write a short, bad book. Because normally when you're editing, it's easier to add to it than to cut words. You don't need to write 120. If you make your goal 180,000 words, you're going to take forever to get there. If your goal is 80,000 words and you might accidentally write 90, that's okay. That's not bad. Actually, that's perfect. That's right in the target. And a short, bad book, you get it done. You can go fix it. You can't edit something that isn't even existing yet. Just try not to do word vomit. I have a history of word vomit. We won't go there, but maybe a little bit more structure than word vomiting, but write it. You have to write it. And I mean, I know you and I, especially our very first, if it's your very, very, very first novel, your debut novel, you'll probably end up rewriting the entire thing. I did mine 3 times. And there's times I want to go back now that I'm on book 21 that I'm about to release. I would so tempted to go back and change Born of Water, but it is what it is. It was my first book, and I have come a long way since then, and you'll feel the same way when you're way past book 1.
No, that's true, yes. And I think that probably plays a lot into the second one I had listed, because it's, well, maybe it's not an entirely different point, but it sort of riffs off what we just talked about as well, because it is really, I want to say, and I've said it before, so I guess I should keep saying it rather than changing my mind like 5 episodes later. Then I say
I'm going to make this as a quote for you and give it to you for social media at this point.
Yes. But avoid editing as you go, and it is a bit of a tough one, I'll admit. But if you're trying to make everything sound perfect, then let's be honest, it won't never be perfect. And the other part is that you're wasting your time, because until you get to the end and you start your editing phase, then during editing you might discover that, actually this section here doesn't quite work. I need to pull it out, maybe delete it. I need to rewrite it or restructure it slightly or something like that. And then you spend hours on making it sound perfect just to delete it later. So it is just waste of time. And while I'm also saying that it's a bit of a tough one, this one, because I know people, I don't have it to that full extent myself, but I have a little in it as well in my mind as well, that if I know something just sucks, I have a very hard time just leaving it alone. I feel like I need to fix it a bit, just so that at least not that I want to make it perfect, but at least so that I feel like it's okay now, and then I can move on. So, and if I don't do that, I keep thinking about it. I cannot let it go. Yeah. So I know this one is a tough one, and if you're one of those people who also can't let it go, then I feel for you, because I know what it's like. For example, now with the first draft that I'm writing for our joint book, I have had to force myself not to touch it. Just write it and send it to Autumn. It's just gone. But it helps a bit. No, but yeah. Well, okay, that sounded wrong. But what I meant by it was really that the fact that I can email it off actually empties it from my mind. Then if it was my own and I have it in my file, then I feel like going back to it. But as soon as I sent the email, then it's sort of out of my sphere, so to speak. Yeah, indeed, yeah. Even though it's still the same Scrivener file, but I don't know. My mind is weird sometimes. But
I love human psychology, so I get that.
Yeah.
But no, it's a waste of time. Like you said, if you're writing something and you're editing it, and it is perfect, especially if you get yourself in a cycle where you write something and you have self-doubt. So you go back and you edit it and you rewrite it and you keep treading that same path. And that's not going to get you to the end of your first draft. And then too, even if you just edit it a little, you get to the, next 5 chapters and you realize, oh, that was a whole tangent. This is when the book starts. I'm cutting all of that. Well, if you spent hours editing it, well, that was wasted time. But like you were saying, I'm the same way. If there's something that's atrociously wrong, it depends. There's times I can, like climax scenes and stuff, I feel like I've got to get it really kind of there's so many pieces. You need to get each one fit, because then my next chapter might be a different character's point of view, and I need to know that what really happened. And so getting all that fitted in is important, but there's sometimes a plot hole. I've gone back and realized I was missing an entire character point of view, which it was a sub character, but an important one. So it ended up being 3 chapters I had to re-add. So there are times I will go back and edit while I'm writing. But there's also times where it's just like, oh, thank gosh, Scrivener has a note section. And I just highlight, add note. And I even keep a file in my Scrivener. It is a whole folder that just says, note edits to, notes for editing. And so I was like, make sure you add this in, make sure you add that. If I can't find the exact chapter at that moment, I just put it in there and then I review it and I find it as I go through. Because yeah, it's not going to be perfect. That's what editing is for, is once you actually have the whole thing and you get to the end and you're like, oh yeah, I had this vision that I wanted to add this other little thing and I never did. Well, now's your chance to go and add it. It's easier to thread that in than to stop what you're doing and go back and figure it out now. Just don't do it.
No, yes, indeed. So you want me to continue my list?
Yes, this is good. I like you steering. I'm a good navigator and you're a good driver, so it's fine.
Okay. So this one, well, I don't know if I have to keep saying this, but having an outline so you know what to write really makes things that much easier.
Yes. Oh, definitely. I would have put this one in there myself.
Yeah, I suffered really bad with this one in my first book.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote myself into a corner, and the story just took a completely different turn and became something sort of out of my control all of a sudden. And I was like halfway through, and I was looking at it like, what is this? This is not the story I wanted to tell at all. So I think outlining really helps.
It helps a lot. I was the same way. I tried to pants my first novel, and I think I got to chapter 5 or 8, and they're kind of setting sail, and they're going. I was just like, I don't have a clue.
No, indeed.
And that's when I said my characters got lost. I got lost. Yeah, I started at least doing a minor outline, and that's when I discovered the 7 stages of story structure and realized, all of these different combinations, and it made it flow. I like it so much better than 3 or 5 acts, however you want to look at it. So that helps. Even to me, like the books I'm currently was writing, the series I'm about to publish, I sometimes just doing a 2 or 3 sentence synopsis. And that to me is truly like, that is your instructions for the entire map. This is the whole point of the journey. And I remember writing Fae Revolution, which will be book 3 in the series. And I looked at it and went, okay, the outline is okay, but it doesn't even fit this. So I have to change either my synopsis is wrong or my outline is wrong. And so I had to rework things halfway through, which is when I realized I was missing a character as well. And it was just like, oh, and once it all clicked into place, it was like, darn, okay, this is an awesome story. Now it makes more sense. So I have to admit, I have an outline. I usually think it's fine, but when you start writing, sometimes to have something to check back and look at it and say, this is my guiding point. This is my thesis or my theory for this novel. Is it still holding up? Am I holding true? And that way, every time you have a side plot or a little road off the highway, you can go, does that fit? No, yes. And then you can keep going, because the characters will throw things at you. If you have good, strong characters, they will try to take over and run with the story, and it's really fun, but sometimes especially I'm writing about Fae and Dark Fae, are you kidding? They just want to go everywhere. It's hurting cats, it's horrible. But yeah. It's definitely, you need to have a plot.
Yeah, but it's amazing how often one hear that, especially when people are starting out writing, that's really where so many people default to pantsing.
They do.
And do no plan. It happens so often, it's incredible. I feel like it should have one of those those labels from Jackass over it, like, don't try this shit at home.
Yes. It's very true. It's very rare for a novelist who has done 3 or 4 books to still be a solid pantser where it's like, I just make it up on the spot. Almost everyone by that point has started plotting at least a little. I mean, sometimes for me, plotting is intro phases or reaction phases and, just a quick list of things that happen. I've broken it down now where I have chapters and I'll have just, 2 sentences for each chapter, and I'll flesh it out more when I get to that chapter because things have changed before that. But it's still an outline. I still have 38 chapters and each of them has a few sentences, so I know what's happening when I get there. I've thought it out. And you are a much stronger plotter. But yeah, by the time you get to a few books in, you realize you need to be in control, not let fate be your control.
Yeah, and a lot of the time you can find some middle ground. It's not that you have to be fully pantsing everything or fully plotting everything.
No.
There is a lot of middle ground in between. And it's not to say either that the end point is bad either, but I think when we're talking about you writing your first novel, your very first draft, please don't try to pants it. No. Maybe after 8 novels and you sort of have the story structure intuitively ingrained in you and you sort of know where you're going, then maybe you can fly it a bit more. But yeah, just don't do it. It is, as I said, don't try this shit at home. Just don't do it.
I agree. If I had a stamp, I would put it on the screen right now. I agree. Don't try that at home. You will, writing a first novel and never having written a novel before, you already feel intimidated. To have no guide, to not even know your ending point, like to me, to know that I have this many chapters and I am writing to this point, I almost always add at least 2, but still, I know it's going to be this long and I know where I am in it. It's huge. I have a timeline. I can tell you when I'm going to be done. I'm going to hit that too within like 5 days. I'm usually early, not later. Those are huge things to know, and to not know anything about writing and to be so completely lost with book 1. It's not being lost in a fog on an edge of a cliff and you just don't know where you are and you don't want to do that. So have a string to hold on to. Get at least a little bit of a plot going.
Yeah, and if you need some help, we do have a full step-by-step guide on both how to develop characters, how to develop character arcs, how to do the entire plot of a novel. So yeah, if you need help in that department, there's lots of help to be had, and you can pick up our guidebook. I'll put a link to the plotting book in the show notes as well if you want to check that one out. But it'll basically take you through from start to finish. So you can just follow it, and I can promise you, you will be way, way better off than trying to fumble around in the dark.
Yeah, you won't be quite in the dark fog bank with no flashlight and no rope. You'll have much more guidance than that.
Yeah. Okay, so I have one more, and then I don't know, maybe you have some other ones as well.
Yes, we'll see what else I can throw in. And right now, I have to admit, I haven't had an office chair for so long. I am having the worst time not like swinging around in this thing. I should lock it in place. All right, so I'll try to stop spinning.
Yeah,
good.
Sit still. Pay attention.
Oh, that never worked for me.
No. Okay, so this one is around waiting for the writing fairies to show up and sprinkle their pixie dust before you're feeling motivated or in the right mood. Because if that's what you're doing, then no wonder why the first draft is still not done.
Yeah, I think this one's becoming one of my pet peeves, and I'm trying not to because I understand the impetus of it. And not everyone wants to treat writing as a business. For some people, it really is a hobby that makes them feel good. But waiting for inspiration, I think as I told someone recently, it's like, well, why don't you find what inspires you? And do that, and then go write. Because if you're just going to sit around waiting, it's like what that phrase, waiting for water to boil. It doesn't boil when you're watching it. You gotta turn on. You actually have to turn on the stove. So you gotta turn on the inspiration to be inspired to write, and that's not going to come by sitting there staring at a cursor blinking either, or being on social media.
But you of course made it. You made a good point, Dane, in saying that some people are just, it's just a hobby, and if that's the case, then I think it's fine. If you're just doing it for the fun of it, and you don't really care if it takes you 8 years, fine. Wait for the fairy dust to come, and that's fine. But at least if you want to have any commercial success from it, then you just have to prioritize writing. And maybe, I understand the people who then might say, but I don't have time for it. I'm so incredibly busy. I understand it. I get it. Trust me. I'm insanely busy as well. Yes. But sometimes then it's a matter of, I think I said on a previous podcast, get up at 5 a.m. if that's what you need to do, and do an hour of writing while the house is quiet. Or maybe skip the Netflix show in the evening and do some writing time, whatever suits you. Personally, I function best with creative work in the morning. So for me, it works to get up early and then do the writing before I have to do other things. Because then I got it in. And I also feel more content, basically, because I feel like I achieved it today. So it's done, off the list. I'm already in control from the beginning. But I also know other people who prefer to work very late in the night, and that's, whatever works for you. But I think the point is just that you have to prioritize it.
You do. And that's what always worries me about doing it at night or when you get home from work, is it's so easy that life, distracts you or pulls you aside, or you had a really busy day and you're tired. If you put yourself first, I think that's incredibly empowering, and it really does set your day. So I'm a morning person, sort of, compared to a lot of people. 6 a.m. is like fine. 5:30 is, it's a little early, but it's fine. But yeah, getting up, even though I'm technically a full-time writer and artist and writing coach, I still get up before I check email, even yours, Jesper, though I usually check just to see if you sent anything. I usually sit down without checking my email. I get my tea, I know breakfast, and I sit and I write for an hour or two, or I'm editing for an hour or two. And that is how I start the day. And after that, then we can eat, I can walk the dog and all those other things. So it just really sets the tone for my day. And I feel so good because I put myself first and my own author platform first and my own ideas in my head first. And that's just fantastic. And so it keeps building, and it'll percolate up all day, and then I feel so much more content focusing on other authors' work because I know I put some stuff in for me, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, plus just the satisfaction. I don't know if that's the right word, but it just feels very good when you know that I got my words in today. And it's only 8 a.m. Like, yes.
Yeah, it is.
It's wonderful.
Think it really is. It really, I'd say, like I said, I think it sets the whole tone for the day. And every day that I hit those words or finish the chapter I was working on editing, and you feel it's really coming together, it's a better day. And you go through a more positive day and you spread more positivity. And oh my goodness, this world needs more of that. So I think it's very helpful. But no matter what, I mean, waiting for inspiration, that was really the whole point of this one. If you're just waiting and that is what you want to do, you also, by the time it comes, you fizzle out so quickly. You might be waiting for inspiration for weeks, days, months, and it finally comes and your writing stamina is 1,000 words? Or if you're pushing yourself and trying to find things that inspire you, giving yourself some time, putting some time and effort into something that is your dream, which will make you feel more positive towards yourself. That way, if you do, I mean, even for you and I, we're professional writers, but occasionally it's not just sitting down at the keyboard and forcing yourself to do it. When those moments of true spark and inspiration come and you're like pounding out the story and telling your kids 5 minutes and they know that means like half an hour, don't talk to anyone, you can put in chapters. It is amazing what we do when we're on, caffeine acceleration. Oh my God, I have inspiration. Please don't bother me. You can whip out like half a book. So it's fantastic. You won't get there if you're just waiting for inspiration and never put in any effort in between.
Yeah, and I think another way of putting it is basically to say that, again, disregarding the people who just do it because it's a hobby, then that's fine. But if we ignore those people for a moment here, then it is another way of saying that writing it's also a job. It's not always. I'm sure that every morning when the baker goes to his job, I'm sure he's not every morning feeling like I'm so inspired to bake bread today, right? It doesn't happen every day, but he does it anyway because it's his job. And the same thing with writing. It is certainly not all the time when I sit down to write a chapter that I feel inspired for it. Certainly not all the time. But I write it anyway. And then I push the shit down the line to future self to sort this stuff out once you get that far. But actually, to be honest, once you then get to it later, you can't really distinguish where were you motivated and where were you not motivated, because actually there's not that much of a difference in the writing.
No. I see some small differences when I'm really flowing and, I see like I'm adding in more senses, a little bit better description. But it all, once you go through an edit phase, you can't tell. No reader is going to say, oh, you were just so inspired right here. No, you can't tell. What they can tell is that I actually finished the book and got it to them. They know that.
But also if you did a proper job in your editing, you'll move everything up to the same standard anyway.
Exactly.
So, maybe there was, like, let's say there's 2% less editing in the motivating part, but who cares?
Exactly. It's not that big of an issue, and the point is to actually do the book, get that first draft done, then learn to edit, and you'll have that manuscript ready to send out to readers and have that inspiration. Inspiration's great. Funnel it into like the plotting, because that's really the best time to really work out what happens next. You need a lot of inspiration for some solid plotting.
Yeah. So if I'm to put like some sort of conclusion on it, I would probably say that at the end of the day, everything that we talked about here, it really feeds into the fact that you have to find a process that works for you.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Because we're all different. And I think there are some good pointers in what we said in terms of things that you need to think about. But how to actually apply it is something where you need to think about yourself as well and find your own way through it. But one thing I guess we can say is that the first draft becomes easier and easier the more times you've done it, the easier it becomes, and it doesn't feel like that big of a hurdle anymore after a while. It's only the beginning, the first book, maybe two.
Yeah.
Book 2 in the series, at least, that's a bit of a pain. So but after a while, then it's not that big of a hurdle anymore, and it's still a massive undertaking just to write a first draft. Like we said at the top of the episode, most people don't even get that far. So if you can just get the first draft done, you're already ahead of 90%. So
That's right.
So it's a matter of pushing through there, and the other thing that as I said before, that I think is really important is that your first draft isn't bad. It's just not edited yet.
That's right. You don't have to go for perfection, because if you keep trying, you'll never get to the end of the first draft. The first draft, a short, bad book. Write a book. Then you can add to it. You can learn from it, get some feedback, get an alpha reader, a mentor, a writing coach if you really have doubts. But you need something to look at to grow from. So just write it. Find a few things that'll work for you from what we've said, having like guideposts, a synopsis, maybe using story structure, something like that can at least give you some guidance, that you know where your beginning, middle, end, and everything will be, and write it and just get it done, and you'll be so much happier to actually have done it. And put yourself first. I will say that's something you have to do. At least one day a week. Give yourself that.
Okay, so next Monday, Autumn will be back with a very interesting interview, and she will be discussing the state of the industry and lots more like that.
If you like what you just heard, there's a few things you can do to support the Writing Fantasy podcast. Please tell a fellow author about the show and visit us at Apple Podcast and leave a rating and review. You can also join Autumn and Jesper on patreon.com/AmWritingFantasy. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get awesome rewards and keep the Writing Fantasy podcast going. Stay safe out there and see you next Monday.